makes Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies go up in value? Is it hype or is there real value?
I think it's a bit of everything. You mentioned hype, which is kind of the news flow and the headline and media coverage. It certainly has got a fair amount of that recently. What's also happening is it's a supply and demand. And essentially we have something that's pretty small, but quite potentially the future. And then we have a very bloated, indigested old man fiat currency that has to leak out a lot of its fiat into the new exchange system. So I think we're in a transition. And as a result, there's a wall of money. And whenever you have a wall of money in the demand area, you get these extremely volatile but generally upward moving markets. That doesn't mean the wall of money is always coming in at always the same rate, and it doesn't mean that perception of valuation doesn't get overextended. So it's quite feasible that we are quite overextended in perception of overvaluation in terms of how far the technology and the proliferation has got. But there is still scope for us to become more so. In the longer run, though, we will have to align with practical use, proliferation, and there will be a balancing off. So I think while there's a wall of money, you don't want to be out of the game.
So are we experiencing a cryptocurrency rush? Is this a bit like the dot-com bubble, or?
It's an interesting analogy. I avoid the word bubble. So the tulip mania was a bubble. So I differentiate, I think bubble is a bit of an annoying phrase that gets overutilized. Tulip mania was a bubble. Essentially, you went from something that was worth, very few, fraction of a few guilders. It went to the moon and went all the way back down to what it was before. And in some certain colors of bulb, it went a little lower than it was before. So that was just a flash in a pan that returned. .com, slightly interesting. Essentially, there was a lot of businesses that got listed for which there was not a great deal to them. In other words, bridal.com, boo.com. They were a business plan, an idea about a website, and then selling all the wedding dresses of the world. Didn't happen. But out of that era and the internet, we've totally changed how we go about doing business. It was a key pivotal moment. I mean, Amazon has 42% of US retail. Now, people were telling you to short Amazon throughout the dot-com boom. They never made a profit. He just took all his money and reinvested. He now owns a massive slice of online retail and is a unicorn company. Traded through $1,000 not so long ago. Sure, it may sell off in any tech sell-off and may sell off quite some way, but that company is not going away and has changed retail. Then you've got the Googles and the Netflixes and all of these elements that came out. Cisco, that was slightly on the hardware side. There are companies that have done tens of hundreds of percent appreciation, and there's a whole new way of doing business. So I do think there is a parallel to the dot-com. That doesn't mean it's all a bubble, as in it'll just go back and disappear and go away like nothing ever happened. I think there's hypervaluation, though. So you have to acknowledge that the money sometimes gets ahead of the delivery aspect for a while, and you will have a reset back, but then eventually, those changes are coming. Yeah, 90 billion is a juicy market cap, and the case is it's accurate if that's what the market says it is. So this is a case of where there isn't easy mannerism for valuation. If the amount of money that is moving in bids it up to that level, then that's because of that money that is entering into the system. So it's a balancing of supply and demand. However, if a lot of that money is only coming in for the speculative bigger idiot narrative, when things go bad, a lot of it could exit and be burnt in essence and be scared money. So valuation is a bit of a tenuous discussion in such an early industry. In the same way, how did we value Amazon? It never made any profit initially, but it just kept taking that revenue and reinvesting it and owning industries. So it's a bit of a tough one.
Do people use the currency for anything other than speculation?
A good question, because that's going to be the sustainability. I think initially the bulk of the people are the store of appreciation value, hopefully, for them. In other words, it's a capital appreciation game and a lot of them are getting in it. Some people do buy their cannabis maybe, or other aspects. Certain people that have, when Silk Road used to exist, Bitcoin was the medium of exchange, and it was, supposedly untrackable, etc. So there have been purchases made. Bitcoin has got a real legitimate, you take payment. Some of the others, as yet, that case is yet to be made. So people are transacting in Bitcoin for items, and it is expanding. In the others, I think the case is still to be made.